Hi, and welcome back. We are going to dive right back in where we left off with step number 2, loading our data set into Google Colab. As you can see, I have my Colab notebook open, locked, loaded, and ready to go. The first thing I'm going to do is upload our HR data set. So we're going to come to the left side of the screen, and we're going to click on this files icon. At the top, we're going to click on this option to upload, and very simple. I'm going to take this a step further and go ahead and mount my drive to this notebook. So there is a line of code that you can write that will mount your drive. I just come over here and I press this button. Wait for it. And my drive is mounted. So I'm going to drop this down, drag this up. Now that we have this set up over here, I'm going to leave it open for now because we're going to need just a little bit. Okay, so before we can load our data set into our Python environment, we have to first import a popular Python library called PANDAS that has the function in it that we will be using to load our data set. PANDAS is a software library that was written for Python, specifically for data manipulation and data analysis. Fun fact, the word pandas is actually a play on the phrase Python data analyst. I think that's pretty cute. Remember when I said that Python syntax is similar to that of the English language? This is what I meant. I'm about to write a line of code that will import the Pandas library into our Python environment. In Google Colab, I'm almost positive it's the same way in the Jupyter Notebook environment, but in Google Colab, when you start typing a lot of the time, Python will just automatically recognize what it is that you're trying to say. Instead of telling Python to just import the Pandas library, I decided to go ahead and alias it as PD, which is the universally accepted abbreviation for pandas in Python. The as keyword is used to create an alias or a nickname of sorts that makes it easier to reference the Pandas library in the future, so that we're not having to type out the whole pandas word every time we want to reference our library. Admittedly, the difference between PD and pandas is only about 4 characters, but when you're a coder, every character counts. So we're gonna go ahead and run this cell, and I'm on a Windows computer, so the keyboard shortcut for running a cell is Control-Enter. So I just hit that. You saw a little spin. You can also come over here and press Control-Enter. I'm just gonna keep pressing it so you see that nothing's gonna happen. Nothing happened. That's always a good sign when you run a Python code, because Python has no issues with telling you as soon as you've done something wrong. So nothing happened because all we did was tell Python to import the Pandas library and then alias it as PD. That was it. Now that our Pandas library has been entered, I'm going to add a cell below this one using the keyboard shortcut Escape B. I am going to call the Pandas library using our very nifty alias, our very nifty nickname, dot. I'm going to call the function that we'll be using to read our document. So read_CSV is the one that we'll be focusing on. I just want to point out, look at all of the different document types that you can load into a Python environment. You've got JSON files, HTML, Excel, SQL. This is pretty cool. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. You can load just about any kind of document type into a Python environment. It's really cool. For now though, we're just going to focus on read_CSV because the file that we're working with is a CSV file. We're going to throw up our parentheses because this is a function. And quotation, inside of the quotation marks, you can use single or double quotation marks. It really doesn't matter. I usually just have a habit of doing single quotation marks because you don't have to press the shift key to get, single quotations. So inside of the quotation marks, we're gonna put the path to our file. Click on these 3 little dots that's attached to our data set, and then scroll down and click Copy Path. I can close this now. I'm going to click back in between these parentheses and then do Control V to paste. It's just a computer shortcut for pasting. And then I'm going to do Control Enter to run, and voila! We have successfully loaded our data set into our Python environment. How easy was that? Keep in mind that we had to write this entire line of code in order to produce our wonderful data set. So we don't want to have to do that every time we want to reference this data frame. So we're going to do something a little bit similar to the way we aliased our pandas library as PD. What we're going to do here is we're going to store this line of code into what is called a variable. A variable is a container for storing values. There is no function for creating a variable, and a variable is created the moment you assign a value to it. We assigned this value to this variable using this equal sign. I'm going to do Control Enter to run this cell again, and as you'll see, our data frame disappeared, but that's okay. We didn't get a message saying that our code was broken. So Python still did exactly what we wanted it to do. All we told Python to do was store this line of code into this new variable. Keep in mind that variables are case sensitive. So if I come down here and I assign capital D, capital F to this line of code and run it, this is a completely new variable. Python will recognize this variable as different from this one because they're different cases. Let's come down here and call our data frame with our variable. So as you can see, our DF variable produces the same results as this line of code does. And I think we can all agree that writing this versus writing all of this is a lot easier. And you'll get an idea for why this is so important as we run through our analysis. In Excel, we refer to our data set as a spreadsheet. So in Python, this spreadsheet is called a data frame. And this variable, the letters DF, is like the widely accepted abbreviation for data frame in Python. Okay, I'm gonna stop here for, again, just the sake of time. The next video will pick up right where we left off with step number 3, data cleaning. See you next time.